Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Respections. I'm your host, Patrick Tomlinson. And with me today is Nancy Cordova. Nancy is an entrepreneur, and she has a very fascinating story to share with us this afternoon. So I want to extend my deepest and sincerest thanks to Nancy for taking the time out to come and to share with us. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you for the invitation and the opportunity.
So Nancy, according to her bio, since age 22, she served as a budget analyst with the New York City Departments of Parks and Recreations. She learned financial stewardship at that time, and she grew up, which we'll get a little bit into, in NYCHA housing, particularly the Douglas projects, and was raised by boomer grandparents since the age of 7. She had some challenges in her life, which she overcome, some of which included domestic violence and mental challenges. She has developed the fortitude to help her to overcome these challenges and has gone on to become a successful entrepreneur in the real estate sphere of activities. Nancy also worked on Wall Street, where she participated in stock trading, and so she honed her skills in becoming a very, very astute financial analyst. Nancy went on to acquire property much before the age of 30 and has come to share with us some of these ingredients and these successes. So again, Nancy, thank you so much.
Thanks.
So where shall we begin? Let's begin with how you grew up and some of the influences in your early life.
So I was raised by my boomer grandparents. My mom and dad had us young, so I'm a middle child. Because of that, the traumas, the chaotic environments that were happening in both my grandparents' house and also with my parents, that taught me a lot about truly what I did not want in my future. My parents went through a divorce that affected us, and so I knew that that was not something that I wanted to repeat in my future. My grandparents, with the very little that they knew, they taught me the importance of credit. Credit makes the world go round. And so at the age of 16, my grandma had released my credit and told me to guard it like it's your social security number. Because a lot of people think cash makes the world go round. Cash is a tool. Cash is used to trade for an item, like back in the day, right? So with that being said, I was able to take out student loans on my own because of my credit. I was able to take out car loans at an age because of my credit. And so when I realized how quickly and how easy it was, I was like, I gotta tell everybody else, because especially in our Hispanic and Black communities, we all are just taught in our household, work, get a job that pays the bills, so anything dead end, and push education.
Okay, so Nancy, tell us a little bit about your growing up. What schools you went to, what sports you played, some of your teachers, what you liked, what were some of the challenges?
I was an all-star athlete, so I was a cheerleader, a gymnast, soccer player, track and field. I did win a scholarship for track and field, but I lost it when I got kicked out at 15. I'm a business major, so I graduated from SUNY Cobleskill, upstate. I went to NYU, and then I finished my education in Manchester Metropolitan University in the UK. And the reason why I went away to the UK was I wanted to understand the flow of money, how money works, because the dollar is not worth as much as a pound.
Okay.
So, or a euro. So I wanted to understand also the quality of life. And so one thing that I do encourage the younger generations is leave the country, go out of state. And I don't mean like on a vacation, or even if you are gonna take a vacation, make it like a month and absorb a different culture. Learn new things, because then you'll realize that America is completely the opposite. Like, it's heavy consumerism. Everyone is still experiencing financial woes no matter how many jobs they get. And in Europe, they value, they don't work to live. I mean, they don't live to work, they work to live, And so that's what a lot of our youth need to understand. They take siestas, and I love that, because if America adapted that, there would be a lot less people that are burnt out.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your grandmother and the influences she had, and also your parents and siblings.
So my grandma, she was super strict. So I had an illiterate grandma who I lived with until the age of 5. And then when it was time for me to start school, because she was illiterate, I moved to my other grandma's house. Because she was familiar with speaking English and stuff like that. I'm the middle child. I have an older sibling, a younger sister, but I suffer from only child syndrome. I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate. I have a really estranged relationship with my family, so really I consider myself like a black sheep. Typically, a black sheep is like a negative norm, like wording, but for me I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of people out there who feel completely different than anybody in their family. And that is your uniqueness, that is your power. And so when I discovered that I was nothing like my siblings, I was nothing like my parents, I was nothing like anything that I was witnessing, I realized everything that I wanted for myself needed to be the opposite of what was provided for me.
Okay. And you said you spoke about your maternal and, well, you didn't say maternal, but both grandmothers. So having lived with them, did they leave any gems with you, or any, well, you say your grandmother taught you thrift and the importance of credit, right?
Yeah, so my maternal grandmother, who was illiterate, we used to go thrifting all the time, and it was like my favorite thing to do. And since I was really young, my grandfather ran the block. So
Where did you grow up? What neighborhood?
125th and Broadway.
Okay, that's in Harlem. Okay.
That was where my maternal grandmother had lived. And I was responsible at a very young age to make sure that when she paid with cash, we were getting the same, the correct change back. And as a youngin', I used to run around the streets of Harlem, like when my grandparents didn't have cash on them to give me, I was able to like go to a store and I would have a running tab at like 6, 7 years old and just say, my grandfather's gonna come pay this on Sunday. So from a very young age, I learned how to like negotiate to get what I want, even if I didn't have the funds to get it.
Okay, so that helped you to, that seed was planted where you began to develop thrift and so on. So tell us a little bit about your growing up and some of the experiences you had as a female and a person of color, and trying to overcome some of the probably quote-unquote stereotypes that persons experience.
Yeah, I mean,
was what you have achieved now, was that expected of you? Put it that way.
To be honest, no. My grandma knew, my dad knew, But my mother and her mate, one of the things that they had said, and I know that a lot of people can relate, is I was a troubled teen. And so one of the things that, some of the things they would tell me is, you're going to end up in jail, you're going to end up dead, it's only a matter of time before you get kicked out of your next place, like really horrible just things. And so for me, that hurt me so badly that my mission was to make sure that these people ate their words.
Okay. So were you a troubled teen or just a teen like all of us who gave trouble?
I wouldn't say that I was a troubled teen. I would say that I was a misunderstood teen.
Okay.
I think that in New York, particularly, with how our housing situation is set up, especially since I grew up in Douglas projects, like in the projects, tight spaces. Even if you don't live in the projects, due to generational financial trauma, you have first and second generation living under one household, which creates a lot of stress and impacts your mental health.
Okay. So if you were to try to share with other young females, what would be your message to them? What would be your recommendations or strategies to them to overcome? Because hundreds of thousands live in the same situation. So if you're to speak to them, what would you want to tell them and share with them?
Believe it or not, therapy. I'm a product of therapy since the age of 15. Therapy was something that saved me in every sense of the word. It's taboo still in the Hispanic and Black community where they discuss when, you have parents or relatives tell you, don't share what happens in the house, like what happens in the house stays in the house. And that's basically enabling toxic behavior, enabling, positively reinforcing abuse. And so as a daughter, as a female who has experienced this, therapy was something that helped me navigate and understand that what has happened to me was not my fault.
Okay. And do you want to share, not necessarily in any detailed way, but some of the things that, in a general way that you experience that you think other young ladies or teens experience while growing up and not knowing how to deal with them?
Seek mentorship as well, in addition to therapy. I've always had mentors around me playing sports. My coaches always held me accountable.
Okay.
I've always had a sense of discipline, but also I've invested a lot in mentorship. I never hung out with people my age, just because I knew that I wasn't learning from them. And I really needed to, in order for me to build the life that I needed to build, I needed to get around people who were far more ahead than I was.
Oh, that's very telling, very, very insightful. So you now you said you went to high school. Where did you go to high school?
In New York, I went to Martin Luther King High School for Law and Advocacy and Justice.
Okay. And did you like the program? Did you enjoy it?
I hated it.
Yeah.
I had just moved from Virginia, and this school didn't have a track team, so I was used to playing track. I mean, I had a scholarship, so I hated moving back. And then also, I was living in a new construction house, $500,000 house, and
Where's that, in Virginia?
in Virginia.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, the rug got swept beneath me, and I'm back in New York with literally nothing to my pockets, like a stray cat. And so that really, if it wasn't for mentorship and me learning all the variety of ways that I could really hustle smarter and not harder to build my life back up and prove to them, hey, you may have left me with nothing, but look at what I built.
Okay. So now you said you left high school, Martin Luther King, and went to college upstate, and you're a business major, you said. And then you moved on to, was this the New York City Department of Parks? yeah, just tell us. Share
So
with-
when I graduated from college, I did an internship for the Parks Department, and in lieu of taking classes. And so I'm gonna recommend to everybody who's in college, please do this. It looks fantastic on your resume, and also, it's gonna open your eyes to way more. You're gonna come back to America and just side-eyed it. But I did an internship for Parks. It was for about 3 months in lieu of the courses. Once I finished, and I finished the internship, I just left. A lot of people didn't know that I was an intern because of the quality of work that I was doing. And so I had applied for an open position at Parks, and it was beautiful, life-changing. What I encourage everyone, whether you're young or old, don't knock the benefits that come with having a city job. And so when I was in my 20s, I realized, my business advisor was so like, oh my God, like I was a huge success story. Like I made something happen, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I believe myself to be a hybrid. And then all of a sudden, I got hired to be a budget analyst for them, and here I am 11 years later.
Okay, what did that job teach you, being a budget analyst? What were some of the skills that you acquired?
Definitely more attention to detail. So I handle the city's $53 million seasonal hiring plan. And so if any single cent is off or there's a surplus, we have to explain, and then there's a whole delay. And so that can be pretty pressuring, but I work well under pressure. I mean, I grew up in a chaotic environment, so I knew how to like create my internal peace.
So for those who might not have those internal gifts that you have, to be able to, go straight when there's chaos around you, what would be some of your recommendations?
Meditation, therapy. If you have a best friend that you can rely on, have someone in your corner. When you know that you have someone in your corner, there's no failing. And that's what my grandma was for me. I've wanted to quit so many times. I never even wanted to go to college because I had at one point believed all these negative things that were said about me. And the best decision that I made was to go away. It taught me how to live in the real world, how to be resourceful, how to be an adult.
Okay. So you, that seems very bold to take upon yourself to go away, quote unquote, go away. And I guess that's an interesting pattern to set for young people, because oftentimes we really need to change the environment in which we are and to get new perspectives and new outlook. So having left the Parks Department, you went on to, you said you worked at Wall Street for a while?
Yeah, as a life insurance agent. And so in working in that field, I learned firsthand that a lot of our Hispanic and Black communities don't know at all finances. So I realized how many people were signing up for whole life policies, because the attraction to it is, there's a cash value, you can borrow against yourself, without understanding the fees that are affiliated with it, which further prove that, our communities are hungry for cash. They want instant gratification. Nobody wants delayed. Nobody wants to sacrifice. Nobody wants to play it long term. Everybody wants right now. And when you want right now, you're not going to get anything at all.
Okay. So your recommendation is to look at things from the long term, if I might.
Look at the glass half full. Keep an open mind.
Okay.
School for me was my safe haven, and it was also a way for me to network. Any opportunities, I became an RA. I was able to, qualify for scholarships and grants because of the activities that I would do on campus.
When you say an RA, what do you mean?
A residential assistant.
Okay,
So
okay.
I call it like it's a landlord in training.
Okay.
Because anytime that there's an expense or repair, it's coming out of the university's pocket and not
Right.
mine.
Okay, okay. Okay, I know exactly what you mean. So you're an RA and then you went to college for free. Then you said you worked on Wall Street, but one of the fascinating things that moved me in reading your bio is that you became a landlord at a very, very young age, which I'm hoping we can explore that much later in the second interview. But I just wanted to follow the trajectory of you now leaving, well, you being at Wall Street and leading up to when you purchased your first, made your first venture in New York City.
So I was about 20 years old when I was on Wall Street. Then I left that and I started with Parks. And then after that, I've been with Parks for 11 years. I went through the NACA program in
Okay.
2022.
Can you tell us what that's about a little bit?
So NACA is a no money down, no closing costs, no attorney fees, no PMI, home ownership program. It's available in all 50 states, and their mission is to make home ownership possible for everyone.
Okay.
That's not to say that you don't need to have money saved, but what it means is this is an opportunity for you to live in a high cost of living state, just like myself, possible. So instead of moving to Florida like New Yorkers do, you can make life happen here. So in 2022, I discovered NACA, and I went through the process in 4 months. I ended up purchasing my property in the Bronx. I bought a duplex. I hit a home run. I bought it with $35K of equity. It was new construction. And straight out, this was my first deal, and because of this, I now have completely eliminated my housing expense.
Okay.
And this is why I'm so passionate of sharing this with our community, because it's a hidden secret. It's like a play that we all need. We just know how to run it.
Okay. Okay. So all this training and experiences that you had earlier in your life was preparing you for this road that you're on, which would seek to build your wealth or personal wealth. Would you characterize it that way?
Yeah, I feel like every position that I've ever had in life, whether it was a sales associate, because look, I do real estate now, so that helps me. I was an RA, that's a landlord in training, so that's helped me being a landlord. And then entrepreneurship has just always been my companion. Like for me, my favorite thing, like getting money is a game for me.
Okay.
Because there's so many ways to get it, and people just think that getting up and physically going to a job you hate is the way to get money.
Okay. Very good. So Nancy, tell us about Nancy the person. What does Nancy do in her quote-unquote downtime? What does she like? What brings her joy and satisfaction?
So I have 2 beautiful cats, so I'm a cat mama
Okay.
of 2.
What kind of cats?
A turquoise merle tabby and a calico. And they're gorgeous, just like their mom. I love to cook. I love to bake.
What kind of dishes do you cook? What particular-
Aside from my culture food,
What's your culture? You didn't.
I'm Puerto Rican.
Oh, Puerto Rican. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
Puerto
So what
Rican.
meals? What types of meals specifically from the Puerto Rican
Like
cuisine?
my rice and gandules, my
Okay.
pernil.
Okay.
Yes, my potato salad. It's the holiday season now, so coquito.
Okay.
But aside from that, I like to play with like Thai dishes, crab, fried rice, making dumplings. Additionally, I love to travel.
Okay.
I've been traveling for free for the last 15 years,
How do you do that?
miles, and credit.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So this is the importance of credit. So I teach people how they can build their credit. And the reality is, guys, please pay your credit cards. If you're swiping them, pay them back.
Okay. That's one of the most difficult things people find to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They think it's almost like free money, But you have to have the discipline to
Absolutely. Just because you got approved $3,000, that doesn't mean spend $3,000. You know, and there's a way to pay your credit card off that a lot of the community doesn't know. So the government wants you to save and invest money. They're not going to show you how to do it, which is why it's important that you surround yourself with like-minded individuals and invest in mentorship.
Okay. What were some of the mentorships that you was beneficial to you while you were growing up? If you were just name a couple.
My coaches.
These are athletic coaches?
Yeah, my athletic coaches, my dance coaches, any opportunity, you know, because of my skill set. I've paid for mentorship. So right now my mentor is Matt Garland, MG the mortgage guy. And he really was a life changer for me when I discovered him. And he was the one that introduced me to NACA.
Okay, okay. So I guess in the second segment, we'll come back and talk a little bit about NACA and the whole real estate business.
Yes.
But what are some of the countries that you have traveled to and some of the experiences you had there?
Paris, Venice, Rome, PR, Dominican Republic, Florida, Virginia, Connecticut, in the States.
Wow, that's quite a lot, Nancy.
Yeah.
You've covered quite...
Vermont, Boston.
Yes, all over, all over. So we have about 3 minutes left. So I just wanted to find out if there's anything that you wanted to emphasize in this first segment that you think is of importance that viewers might want to know about.
Nothing is as hard as it seems. At first glance, it may feel like it's impossible to overcome.
Okay.
But if you take a step back and really just get a grip on your mindset, you'd be surprised. You can make the impossible possible. You can grow a rose from the concrete. Don't doubt your abilities. God gave you a skill set. Tap into them.
Okay. Did you mention Puerto Rico? You've been back there. Where in Puerto Rico are you from?
San Juan.
Okay, that's the capital, right? Okay, beautiful place. And I know it's going through a number of challenges since the hurricane and so forth and so on. But, so it's Boricua, right?
Yes, Boricua. Pa que lo sepa.
So, Nancy, I think you have a very, very inspiring story. You've overcome a great deal. You're an inspiration to me, and what you have achieved is phenomenal. We have about a minute left. I'll, just ask you if you wanted to, before we close out, just a word or two to our viewers or young ladies or anybody who's struggling.
Yeah, so to all my ladies, because I'm here, I'm all about women empowerment. And, times have changed. Back then, we needed men for financial stability, dependency. But in 2024, you don't need that. I purchased my property in New York City as a single female. And as of current, single women are owning more homes than single men.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Thank you for a wonderful message, and we look forward to part 2 again. This is your host, Patrick Tomlinson from Respections, and stay tuned.